Today I'm going to be demonstrating how Drupal 7 can be used as a source connector in ImpulseSync. And we can migrate Drupal 7 content to any destination connector in ImpulseSync. In this demonstration, we're going to be using Contentstack as the destination. Now, if we look at the content from Drupal, we'll see first the content type called article. And this article has three fields that we're interested in migrating: the title, the body, and the field's image. If we look at a piece of content for this article, we'll see what the user is, motive, as well as the image we have and the body. Now, we want to migrate this piece of content over to Contentstack as in the content type Drupal articles, which has a title field, a body field, an image, and the author, a relationship actually to the author. So what this means is to migrate this content successfully, we actually need to migrate three separate things. We need to migrate the images, we need to migrate the authors, and we need to migrate the Drupal articles themselves. So obviously the articles are going to move to this content type. Authors are going to be migrated to this author content type, which simply has a name field. And assets or files are going to be migrated to Contentstack's file or assets here, and we're going to use a file path to migrate the content and sync it into a specific folder. Now, if we look at the configuration for ImpulseSync, you'll notice that I already have three jobs set up. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start running our third job, articles, because I've already run the first two jobs, files and author content. So because these first two jobs have run, let's go ahead and look at the content that we sunk over. And what we'll see is we'll have this folder 2023-10. Inside of this folder, we'll actually have a second folder, inner folder, and this is where all our files have synced over into using a file path. And we'll look at that config here in a minute. Similarly, our entries, we have our two authors already migrated over into our destination system. So let's look at the config for those two jobs. First, we'll look at the files job. If we take a look at its configuration, we can look at the source endpoint config, and we'll notice that we're picking up the content type with this special keyword impulse asset, meaning we want to pick up files from the source. And we want to pick up these files from this folder, 2023-10, inner folder. If we look at the destination, we'll see that we have some set up here just to sync over into what folder and what folder to pick up assets from. We have no manipulators for this job, and we'll just go ahead and exit this. And we can look at the mapper real quick, and we'll notice that since it's a file content type sync, we really don't have any mapping here. So it's a fairly straightforward job to sync over assets. If we look at the author content, we'll see we're again using a keyword here from the Drupal source to pick up the users themselves. And we want to pick these users up as a content and migrate it as a content. Our destination is very similarly set up, where the content type is now pointed to the author content type in Contentstack. And again, we have no manipulators here, and we can check the mapping config for this job as well, and it will be fairly straightforward, where we have the destination content type, author, and our field mapping from our source field name to our destination field title. And then finally, we have our third job that we ran to actually sync over the articles. If we look at the configuration for this job, we'll notice that at our source, we're picking up the content type article as it's listed in Drupal. And at the destination, we're going to compare it to articles synced in articles in the Drupal articles content type. Now, we do have two manipulators here to demonstrate how our manipulators can be used for any job in our system, in the ImpulseSync system. We just happen to demonstrate it here between Drupal and Contentstack. And we have two regex manipulators where we're going to take the article content type and look at the field body. We're going to go ahead and use a regex to search for this end closing tag and replace it from B to strong. Now, our second regex manipulator does something very similar, where instead of the closing tag B, we have the opening tag B, and we're replacing it with an opening tag strong. If we look at the mapping configuration for this article's job, we'll notice that we have the destination content type, and we have each of our source fields mapped over to what the destination field is. So title, the Impulse user reference to author, the field's image, and the body. Now let's go ahead and check on our content now that this job has finished. And if we refresh this, we'll see that we'll have our 3 articles moved over. If we go ahead and look at this Go article, you can open it here and look at the fields that it migrated over. And here we can see that our title field has been migrated. We have our body fields, and if we look at the HTML itself, we'll actually notice we have this strong here rather than B. We have our image, and we even have a relationship created to the author content of this article. Thanks for watching.